Swanzey Then and Now. Your hosts today are Lee Dunham and myself, Jody Turner. And we're going to be talking about East Swanzey today. I know we've had some other shows that we talked a little bit about East Swanzey, but we're going to focus on some of the mills, some of the buildings, and take a little bit more wider view.
If you're really old, you'd call this section of East Swanzey Unionville.
Why?
I don't know why. Well, they voted to call it Unionville. I have found that, but I don't know why.
Does anybody out there know why it's
But
Unionville?
it's that little, if you look on the 1858 map, it calls it Unionville. So.
Wow. Well, like every other show, Lee, we have photographs today.
Oh, do we?
So if you guys have photographs that you want to share, just let us know too. But this is Carlton Bridge?
Right. This is an old picture.
That's the first. That's
Carlton.
Before the bridge that we have there now.
No, that's the bridge that we have.
That is the bridge that we have there now?
Yes, yeah. That's.
Well, we don't have that many trees around it anymore.
Yeah, Carlton Bridge is actually the oldest bridge we have.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not town lattice style like the other ones.
Right.
This is Queen's Post Trust.
And so what makes it, does it make it stronger? Or is it because it's a short bridge that they can do this?
You look at it, you look at the inside. When you drive through it, look at it. Because you see more the looks of a barn.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, yeah.
Instead of the crisscross of the town lattice design. So we think it's because it was whoever built it, they built barns probably, and they just built this.
Yeah, because that area over there is more of the farm properties, I think.
Yeah.
You know, you had a lot of the fields that are now being built into houses.
So we put that in there because this is the gateway to
It
East
is the
Swanzey.
gateway to East Swanzey, that's right. So anyway, but there was a lot of fields out there and there's a lot of farm country out there.
Yeah.
And Mike Johnson still has his farm out there.
And still, I mean, when you think of Swansea, I think of East Swansea as having all horses, a lot of horse farms. So.
Yep. Yeah. So let's get started on this. So the Carlton Bridge leads us up the road, up Carlton Road
to this. Well, this is actually an Aldrich Road, but this is the Carlton Farm.
Okay. Where is the Carlton Farm?
As you go up the hill, start up the hill, past
Towards,
the sandbank, toward East Swansea, Aldrich Road is a left off it. You'll see the barn.
It's just a short
right
road, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It actually used to go all the way through, but it does not anymore.
Like a lot of roads, yeah.
So the Carlton, and you might think of it, or I remember, and everybody remembers it, the McClure Farm.
They have horses?
Jim and Betsy McClure. They
Betsy,
had horses.
Was she a school teacher? She was a gym teacher?
Gym teacher.
In junior high.
In Keene, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? I really admired her.
Yep.
Yeah, she's really the one that got me focused on sports. Anyway, just saying.
And all of us, you know, my age, we all went to school with the McClure kids, so they were older than me, but I remember them all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, so is this their farm? Is this the Carlton Farm?
This is the Carlton Farm. Now you have to, under those little houses.
They had lots of Indians.
Tents, they're not tents, but a lot of places around here. The poultry industry was big in New England.
Yes.
And you just think of the whole thing, a farm to market that we talk about today.
Right, which we're
sliding
sliding
it was real
back into,
then because you know eggs didn't last long.
Right.
So they were produced locally, and now when we figured out how to transport and do all this other stuff, you know, I don't know where our eggs come from now if you don't buy them locally.
Mine come from my chickens.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, eggs can come from a long ways away. Stacy, yes, I have a show on Stacy.
Yes, we used to buy our eggs.
Yeah.
My grandmother, I remember going
at
to
the
Stacy
Red
Cole's.
Crow Farm.
Red Crow Farm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. I wish I had a chance to talk with Stacy way long before, but we did talk with him a year or so before he passed.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's go back to East Swansea. All right. So
and
is this the Carltons? Oh my goodness.
In the back is Harvey Carlton, the father. Sitting is Lucretia Holbrook Carlton.
She is beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she grew up on Hale Hill Road, married Harvey, who was from Richmond at the time, but then they moved in onto this farm. Next to Harvey is Mark Carlton, who would later inherit the farm. And the younger one on the right is Carl Carlton, or Charles Carlton. And the lady on the left, the daughter, I first thought that it was Kate. Carlton. And then I found in a family Bible at the museum, there was an Eva Carlton.
So what happened to Kate?
Kate died of tuberculosis in 1900. So looking at the picture a second time after I found another daughter, I really think that's Eva. Eva married a Ridley, of course, that's a East Swansea name.
Yeah.
So, so I think that's Eva. I first thought it was Kate.
Yeah. Well, maybe there's a family member that can confirm all of this. You never know.
Possible.
Yeah, yeah. All right, and this is the Holbrook farm?
This is the Holbrook farm. Remember Lucretia Holbrook? That's where she grew up.
And this is up on Hale Hill?
This is Hale Hill. This was actually the last house on Hale Hill at the time. Hale Hill didn't go past this and down across where we just put in a new culvert bridge down to Route 32. It didn't do that.
Yeah.
It just ended at this farm.
So many farms and mills.
Now we're in East Swansea. We're in the real south part of East Swansea. This is Westbrook Court. This is the last house before the Swansea line on Westbrook Court. Still there. Still there. That comes to me via Carol Tolman and his family. They had an extra picture. Now, do you know where this is?
I do not know where this is. I saw this photograph that you had given me, and I have no idea.
I had always heard of this. J. Edward Bouvier, who was the old Homestead band director, and he was a state representative for us also here in Swansea. But he was also the worked for Holy Cross as the choral director or music director.
And there's a piano at the community house.
That's named after, or was given by him, right?
Right, I think that's what it is, yeah.
Yeah. Well, his family grew up just past Valley Hall, which we'll talk about later on. His father was a blacksmith, so, you know, he could make all sorts of things.
Right. So what was this building again?
That was Nayland View, and Nayland was his mother's maiden name. So he puts this chapel up on his sort of, it's a cottage. He had a little cottage he put up on a hill. It's just off of Hale Hill Road. It's between Hale Hill and Goodale Ave. He owned the property between the two roads. And he put this, he had a little summer cottage, but he built a shrine. This is actually consecrated by the high-ups at the Vatican also. I mean,
so why did he build it though? As a memory to his mother,
to his mother and his mother, and I think others in his family. That's why it's called Nayland View, because it's named after them. Now I put this one on my Facebook page, and boy, you should have seen the stuff I got. Is a lot of people have been and visited it. I've had people that were married there.
Wow.
Had their weddings. I mean. J. Edward Bouvier, when he passed away, he left it in his will that whoever owned this had to keep it open until, I forget the date, it was so many years after they purchased it that it had to be open to the public. And so now it doesn't have to be, but the current owners still allow people up.
Do you have to make an appointment or something, or how does that work?
No, there's a gate at the bottom, and if it's closed, obviously you can't go. But if it's open and they're up here, then they allow people in. You know, you just drive up and park, and neighbors watch after the place a little bit.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting that not a lot of damage ever happened over the years.
That's great.
I mean, it has. But,
yeah. So you said the Vatican. So he was Catholic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he worked Holy Cross.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's buried in St. Joe's Cemetery.
Where is that?
In Keene.
Oh, in the St. Joe's.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Yeah. I was trying to think of what was in Swansea.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, we don't have a Catholic cemetery.
No. And then you have a picture of it updated now.
That's a couple of years ago when I got the privilege to go up and see. This is what it looks like today.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then inside?
There's a picture a little bit small, but it is small. I mean, there's only
well, people could go and visit for themselves.
I mean, it's a place for quiet reflection,
right.
too. So.
Right. It's a shrine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the
Now,
community house.
East Ronnie
Before the bell was put on the front.
Yeah, well, this is a picture probably right after it was built.
Right. It was 1919.
1919.
Because this year is their 100th anniversary.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think they're going to have that in August of 2019.
Yes, they're going to have some sort of affair.
Right. I think that's
So
wonderful.
Stay tuned. We may be there.
You never know. So yes.
We may be there. And we'll be looking for you to give
Right.
us ideas.
Yeah, yeah. We'll have a little memory booth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I
okay.
talked about Valley Hall. Mm-hmm. This is Valley Hall. Now, this building, most of it's still there. I remember being a store there, and this shows a store also. Actually, if you look close enough, you might see the little bell sign for the telephone. Mm-hmm. You could go there to make a telephone call.
Yeah. Wow.
Back in the day when
They
you
actually
might
had
not-
phones.
Well, you might not have one at your house.
Wow.
And it was a post office too.
Right. So I
here's
think this
another-
is the post office right here.
Yeah,
isn't it?
this is another shot of it. This is a later shot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you had the horse and buggy in the first one.
Right, right.
But
This looks like the 50s or so.
here's two guys. I'll get it wrong if I tell you one's on the right and one's on the left.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Frank Plugger Rice, Frank Plugger, his nickname, Rice,
Okay.
on the left, I think, and Clark Whittemore on the right.
Why do I know that name? I don't know. Anyway, might know a relative.
And I think I've got somebody that chimed in to say that Clark Whittemore later ran a store there also.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
And that's Valley Hall from, if you live on, anybody live on Eastfield Crossing? If you could look through the trees in the back off toward this is the view you'd get.
When there were no trees?
Yeah, sadly that view is really not available to us now.
Right.
But that's looking at Valley Hall from up on the flat plain up there.
Mm-hmm.
And that, again, from up on that high spot, that's looking off at Flat Mill Road where it turns to South Road.
Yeah.
There's mills off to the left, mills off to the right that you can't
Yeah.
really see. But
Right. Yeah. And this
you
looks...
gotta know this place.
I think I do. This is where there's now a four corners and you have to stop at the top, and Weber Hill is over on the right-hand side,
Yep.
I believe. And this is a really hard corner to come down out because...
Well, it's not so hard now, but of course this is
But to
where
look back and make sure that nobody's coming
The-
and look the
yeah.
other way, because people come around that corner pretty fast.
Yeah, this picture was entitled Middle Road or Middle Hill
Yeah,
Road.
right.
If I'd known that when we did that, because there was no name on that road. And then the bank fell in, and now it's the Great Wall of Swanzey.
Right.
But it
And the top wall could be falling in too. But
the
yeah.
top side is starting to have problems. So
Yeah.
we knew that was going to come.
Yeah, I love the property. If we could just go back to that photograph for just a second. I love the property. Somebody, I think, just bought it. That's down by the river.
Oh.
It used to be some
Somebody-
kind of a
I've-
mill.
I have seen a car there. Yeah.
I have too.
Well, we're going to see the mills that were behind there.
Right, because I know that there were mills, and it
Yeah.
was a perfect spot. And you
Yeah.
can see the granite slabs where there were foundations and things like that. Okay, continue on, please. So this is the lanes?
This is the Lane Mill.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, here's what you had to deal with if you didn't get the railroad. Maybe if you had the railroad, you still had to do this to get stuff to the railroad. But what if you had the railroad right next to your building? You wouldn't have to
Right.
worry about Teamsters and
Right.
and-
But they still had to take the logs out of the woods.
oh yeah.
So
yeah.
they had to transport them somehow to get them to the trains. But yeah, having the trains was a wonderful thing.
Now, you were talking about that land. Here's a picture of the mills that were over on that site. Because that's the bridge.
And there's no trees there.
No trees.
This is
no.
a great photograph. I love this.
I mean.
Yeah, so
this
that's the
is-
bridge going up
this
towards
is-
Mike
is-
Johnson's and the East Swansea Community House and
Right. If you came
Schoolhouse
across the
number 2.
bridge this way,
Right.
you would be coming and going around the corner to the East Swansea Community House.
Yes,
Now,
yeah.
understand that bridge was further south than the one that's there today.
Right,
But,
right.
but that's
But
the
the-
mill.
ah.
And you look at the catwalk between one mill to the other.
Yep.
And I've seen that in other mills too.
Yeah. Well, when the river was high, when they were letting the water out and they were getting electricity from it, I'm sure that was that was not accessible. So that's probably why they had the catwalk. Because I've looked at that before, trying to think, like if somebody was to build a house there, what would happen? But if there's water coming through there, like if there was a flood or if they were running water for electricity,
Yep.
that could be a lot of water coming through that area.
Yeah, water's not. You don't want to fool with water
No.
when it's rushing. Too.
That's right. That's right. All right. What else do we have here?
All right. Now let's see. Did I get? This is another mill in East Swanzey.
Mm-hmm.
But here, this is the mill that we were talking about before.
Oh, with the catwalk.
Yep.
Yep.
That's another.
Wow,
picture of
that looks
mill
so
down
different. Because now, like everything is grown up.
Yep.
There's all kinds of trees down there.
Oh yeah.
It's.
But the foundations are still down.
They
there.
are. That's what I think is really
I was
interesting.
down there a couple years ago.
Yeah.
You can find
huge granite foundations, and I think I found where the well would have been. And I was trying to figure out some of the other things. I just find that property, for some reason, is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
But then when you go across if you go on the other side, before the river crosses underneath the bridge,
Yep.
that's pretty interesting over there too, because that comes right down into a gorge.
Yes.
And I can imagine what that must have looked like when they were using that as well.
Yeah. We'll hopefully show, I think I have Ramsdale's Mill, which is the mill. Remember the picture with the gals on the bridge?
Yep.
Here's the Lane Bucket Mill.
Yep.
This burned in like the 30s or 40s.
But isn't the chimney still there, or wasn't it?
Chimney
I don't know
was-
what good. I don't know how kind of
Yeah, the
condition
chimney
it
I
is.
think
but-
was still there. I don't know if it still is now, but that's the last one that they had down there before they moved to what we call the flat roof mill,
Right.
or the green mill, I think
Right.
it was called a lot.
Yeah, looks very modern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where we used to buy the stuff from.
Yep.
This picture here, I think, is the one that I have the questions in my mind. I have an idea. My idea is that it's looking off toward, looking toward Valley Hollow would be on your right someplace.
Yeah.
You can't really see it.
Yeah.
I think it's that stretch of river that you don't get out there. On the right-hand side, you can see a round well.
Yeah.
Probably that's still there, and if we got into it, almost looks like a bridge too, going across a
Right.
river.
Yeah, it does look like it.
There is Ramsdale's Mill. That's
And where
the
was
mill.
that?
That would
Is
have
that
been,
still there?
No,
No.
no. The bridge is just on your left there. So as you cross that bridge to go up to the Swanzey Community House, that mill's right on your left.
So this is where like the old like Alpine house used
Yeah,
to be. It
Alpine
is still
Sheet
there.
Mill
but-
was on one side, and then this would have been across the street from it. Now, this is where James Ramsdale died. I forget whether it was 1911. They were doing work on the main gearings. You know, of course, you had a mill. You had something that turned, so
Right.
you had a shaft. He gets some loose closing, caught up in the shaft,
no.
brought him up and hit him into the ceiling,
Yeah.
and
Done.
he died.
Yeah.
He's buried. If you come on my beautiful, wonderful cemetery tour, we'll show you where James is.
When do you do your cemetery tours?
The third weekend in July at Old Home Day.
Oh,
So.
Old Home Day.
And we might do a show about that.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
So, all right, only have a couple more photographs, guys. So
That is looking off the bridge toward the other side. Because that was,
That's some high water.
For us to have a mill working, you had to have water. So there was an actual dam up there that kept it up. The two houses in the background, one of them is still there, the one on the left. One on the right we burned as a training burn because it was really bad shape
Yeah.
and the owner didn't want it anymore.
yeah. So how did they used to do?
Here's the last
Oh,
one.
I don't want to get to this one yet because this
Okay.
that's Puddin Hollow,
Puddin
right? Holler. Okay. So, but what I was wondering is, when they had the mills, would they let a bunch of water out at one time, or would they just continuously run the rivers? How did they run the rivers around here for the electricity?
That all depended on the water source. Because like the Perry Farm, I don't know if you've ever talked to them before, but the Perry Farm is on a small brook. And so what they do is they dam up the water at night. And then when they wanted to work the mill, they go up there and let the water go.
Right.
And they'd be able to run the mill for hopefully the most of the day and get
Right.
their work done, dam it up again at night, do it all over again.
Right.
Same sort of thing, it would happen. There was a mill on Oliver Hill Road. You can see as you drive up Oliver Hill Road on the left-hand side what looks like a foundation. I think that's more of a dam that was set up for. And then it would come down and you can see the workings of the mill, the foundations of the mill on the right-hand side of the road. And that's the same sort of thing. There wasn't an awful lot of water, so you do it in the spring and you dam up your water and you let it go when you needed it.
Yeah.
Now, if you had a better water source like, the Ashwillet River
That was
over in West
continuous.
Swanzey,
Right.
then you were constantly doing it. So
Yeah.
that's
Because that's what it looks like in East Swansea, because again, that area there where the gorge is kind of before it goes underneath the bridge, before that property that we were just looking at, it looks to me like it could have held a lot of water.
yeah.
And that's, I mean, I'm sure that they must have used that to the best ability to get what they could out of it.
We did buckets, we did clothespins. Of course, clothespins were wooden way back. Window sash. All
Did you
sorts
work
of-
there?
No.
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 But
What I remember about East Swansea, because in East Swansea, when we go to Puddin Holler, we bought what Lane made. I mean, Lane would make buckets. Understand that plastic wasn't around in the old days.
Right.
So buckets, boxes.
any kind of
They
containers.
had box shops, the box shop over in West Swansea. All those containers were all made out of wood.
Right.
And that's what we made.
Yeah.
And that's what they existed on.
Yeah.
Well, Lane came up with the idea that as buckets went out of
Style,
vogue
yeah.
because, you had plastic, you can buy it cheaper, lasts longer. They made them into decorative furniture.
Right. Planters and
I've
chairs.
I've got a little child's rocker
Yep.
still in my house.
Yes. Yep.
That's 3/4 of a pail, but
Right.
you know.
Yeah. So they use the same idea,
And they
but
did it for planters. They
Right.
did it for ashtrays.
Yep.
They did it for. Well, I think we
wall
got a
hangings.
sewing.
I had a wall hanging.
We have
that-
a sewing box.
Yep.
On 3 legs.
Yep.
That would do
Yep.
it.
I remember that
So,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's what Puddin Holler, sold all the Lane stuff.
So let's take a look at Puddin Holler.
Yeah, I put that in there.
Yeah, because this
My
is East
gr-
Swansea anyway. This is off Route
Yes,
12.
This is Swansea.
Right.
This is right
Just
off
before
of
you-
Flat Roof Mill Road.
Right.
Now, interestingly enough, in the 50s, my grandfather, who came from New York, and he was an upholsterer, did fine upholstery, fine furniture in New York City. Well, when he came up here in the 40s, he just lived right down the road from the Lane Mill, and I can only believe that he saw that and said, yeah, he went into mail order. And Puddin Holler was originally a mail order business in the barn that they lived in. The barn, interestingly, you can still see some things of the old store as I go by it every day. So, I know where it started, but then they moved down. My father bought the business from him and moved it down to a rental property.
Oh,
he rented,
I see.
He
Yeah.
rented the house, and we fixed up the house. My grandfather, on the other side, was in carpentry and painting, so they fixed up the place, and Puddin Holler gift store, brick and mortar store, was born, probably early 60s. This picture that we have there is one that's probably 1962 or 63. And the reason I say that is my father bought a 1963 pickup truck, first pickup truck I remember, and it's not in that picture. There is a Renault van, and so that dates the picture.
Right. Right. I do remember this vaguely.
You could get penny candy.
Yep.
You could all sorts of, sort of. It was a gift store.
You're right.
I mean, gift stores were big.
Right.
You drove down the road. You had the Stagecoach gift shop, the Black Lantern
Yeah.
restaurant.
Yeah, there was a lot of restaurants in
Tony's across the street in the Pink Building.
Yeah.
He had all sorts of wooden toys and stuff.
Yeah.
I think the other one was Bill Swift's, I think. I have a bucket from them that's painted. It's probably a Lane bucket, but then they painted on it. So.
Yeah. Just so many things. You know, that's why I love Swanzey, because there's just so many things. And also, you know, on Flat Roof Mill Road, remember, was it George Feuerer? Used to have a train.
George had a train.
Yeah. He and his wife have now passed.
Yep.
But they used to have a train that they would have that he would ride around his yard.
Ride around, yeah.
Yep.
I don't know what happened
Did
to
he
that
have
train.
peacocks? I don't know why I'm thinking that.
Well, peacocks used to be at the Johnson farm. That's
Oh,
right.
right.
I remember. Peacocks and guinea hens. Boy, you knew they were there.
Yeah. And you know, we will have some more shows with Mike Johnson.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we actually went the other day and watched them shear sheep, and I've talked with Mike a couple of times, and I think there's a lot of history there that we can share. And again, if you don't share your history, it will get lost. So please share these things with your friends and things like that. So we only have another minute or two, but I just want to try reading my little poem again. So if you want to read along with me, if you remember it.
Take a deep
I'm going to
breath.
I like to live in a town where the trees meet over the street, and you wave your hand and say hello to everyone you meet. For the life is interwoven with the friends you learn to know, and you feel their joys and sorrows as they daily come and go. So I'm glad to live in a little town, and I care no more to roam. For every house in a little town is more than a house, it's a home. And that's how I feel. I don't know about you, Lee.
Well, we just got done Memorial Day in Swansea's kind of neat.
Yeah, it kind of makes you think about all the people from the past that have made our community what it is. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, well, here we go again. Swanzey Then and Now. We hope to hear more from you.